Why do EVs depreciate so fast? Over their lifetimes, most cars will obviously depreciate. In other words, they'll lose some value as time goes on. There are rare exceptions like limited editions and some collector's cars and so on. But on average, cars will lose about 33% of their value in the first 3 years and lose about 50% after 4 years. Let's take the BMW 320i M Sport as an example. At the moment, they're about £41,000 new. This is before you add options and all the rest of it. And then if you look at 3-year-old models, you can pick one up for about 20 to 25,000. On the other hand, cars like the Jaguar I-Pace, Jaguar's EV, costs about £80,000 new. And if you look at ones that are about 3 years old, they're already down to 25 to 30k. Now that's a huge drop of £55,000 in value, almost 70% depreciation, more than double the average figure. So why are EVs depreciating so fast? Now demand for EVs is increasing, but it's not quite at the level of conventional petrol and diesel cars. Now although it seems like EVs are everywhere, you're seeing them more and more on the streets, you're seeing news articles about them, seeing lots of YouTube videos about them, they still only made up about 16% of all car sales in 2022. So that means the other 84% of all cars sold in 2022 weren't EVs, they were petrols or diesels. Now, as far as I can see it, there are a couple of problems that are causing EV values to drop so much. Now, the first problem, there are a lot of tax incentives around the world that push people to buy EVs either as their company cars, as an employee electric car, or to buy it personally. For example, in the US, I might be wrong on this is from a quick Google search, but residents can qualify for a $7,500 tax saving if they purchase an EV. Now similarly in the UK, there are loads of incentives, so you can get discounts when you're buying an EV, you get discounts when you're installing a home charger for a new EV, and then you get discounts from your electric company to charge the EV. But the one thing you don't get is you don't get discounts for buying used EVs. Now that's a big problem. If you look at it this way, why would you go out of your way to buy a used EV when you can just buy a new one and you get all of these extra little benefits? The second problem that I'm seeing is that there's just a lack of charging infrastructure. It's kind of a twofold problem. It's the lack of charging infrastructure plus the long wait times to charge your car compared to just filling your tank with diesel or petrol. From what I'm seeing, a lot of EVs have ranges of about 200 to 300 miles. Let's call it 250 miles. Now I live in London, so 250 miles from here, well let's say if I'm driving to Liverpool, 250 miles is not going to get me to Liverpool. If I'm driving to like Birmingham and back, 250 miles won't even do that. I'll have to stop somewhere and I'll have to charge the car. Now that's a little bit of a problem. There aren't many chargers. So you go to like a petrol station or whatever, and there aren't loads of chargers. There are a few designated charging spots, but if they're full, what do you do? Or if they're not working, what do you do? Secondly, if I'm charging the car, I don't really want to have to wait 45 minutes to get 40% charge or whatever. I think when these two problems are addressed, so when there's more charging stations everywhere, and when charging actually takes considerably less time, like we're talking about 5 minutes and you're on 80%, then I think EVs will be a good idea. And then a lot more people will start buying used ones because it won't be just the incentives for buying new ones that will be swaying the conversation. Pairs are expensive. Over time, batteries diminish, just as your phone battery, after 2 years, your iPhone battery is terrible. After a few years, your car battery is going to be crap as well. So when you got a new EV and the range is 270 miles, after 5 years, nobody really knows where that's going to be. And if we're looking at the experience we have with phones, after a few years, we're only going to be at 80% capacity, or like 70 to 80% capacity. So if you have a car that gets 270 miles when it's new, but after 5 years, you know it's going to be down to about 220 miles, 210 miles maybe. That's not great. And then also, if you want to replace this battery because it's diminished over time, and you want your range to be great again, so you want your range to go back to 300 or 270 or whatever it was, then you'd have to pay an average cost of £7,500 to fix your battery. Now who's paying that much after 5 years of owning a car? Now granted there's no servicing costs, but servicing a car generally costs about £200 a year, and then after 2 or 3 years cost like £600. Even after 5 years, it won't add up to 7,500. If you see these three problems, you can kind of understand why EVs are losing so much of their value over time. It also kind of seems like people's leases are finishing and they're just kind of letting the car go back to the company because obviously the lease is done. And now the market is also flooded with these used EVs that nobody really wants to buy, so the values are just dropping. Again, simple economics, high supply, low demand, prices will drop. I do think that once there's a drastically cheaper option for battery replacements available, EVs will probably gain their popularity. Although I do think that EVs might not catch on fully, especially until there are super long ranges available, things like 700 miles plus, and we can see some actual proof that EVs can handle high mileage reliably. So we can see cars that are like 400k miles, 500k miles maybe, like after 10 years, like the old Tesla Model S's maybe. But anyways, all of this is a speculation. It's just something I noticed. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. If there's anything you think I've missed, let me know in the comments. See you in the next one.